Hello again, everybody. We've been gone a while, but we're back now. A little weather problem a week ago, but we're back on track now. Bobby Mills here for theindependent.com and another version of boys and girls basketball on Bobby Mills Independent Sports Talk. Once again, Jim Lang, and glad to have Jim back. He's the one that's got to travel. Sometimes the roads are slick, folks. And EW, Eric Williams, back on my right. We're going to talk about boys basketball. Everything's sorted out a little bit since the holiday tournaments. And now we're getting into conference tournament season. That is really good. I'll go over a couple of those. That's coming up like at the end of January. I think the big one's Goldenrod gets underway this weekend, I think, and they'll end up in St. Paul for the finals and semis and finals. So let's go down the World Herald ratings. They just came out, and they didn't come out. Boy, they were late, weren't they? I think maybe the Metro Conference tournament caused that delay, because they, it was January, or January. It is January, folks. December 27th clear, and and it was at least a week and a half after that. Nonetheless, they're out. Gretna, of course, suffered 2 losses, one to Aurora and one to York. So they're no longer number 1, and the only team in the overall top 10 is the Aurora Huskies in boys. They move up to 9th. Gretna drops out, but I don't think that's a big deal. You, Jimmy?
No, I mean, I think maybe, well, they thought Gretna was playing well, and they did some things.
Yeah.
No one's taking control of Class A. That's one thing, And what's really interesting to me is, I believe there's 2 teams in Class A that have 1 loss.
That might be it.
And there is 1 team that only has 1 win. Other than that, the other 25 teams are somewhere between 2 wins and 2 losses. So what we found is we have a lot of parity, and if you don't think that's true, look at Grand Island Senior High. What they've done with their schedule, they played North Star, a team that's 2-10, and split with them.
Yeah.
They beat, was it Lincoln Northeast that they split with?
Yeah.
Who has a nice record, and they go into Creighton Prep.
North Star is who they split.
What's that?
North Star is who they split with.
I think I said that.
Northeast they split with too, because they beat them once, and then they lost the very next time in the opening.
Yeah, they played Northeast twice too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they split with Northeast. And they split with North Star. Is it Northeast? You got it right in front of you.
No, Lincoln Northeast. They actually lost to twice.
Okay, they lost to them twice.
Or no, they did never. I take that back. They did split. They split. They won the first one and then lost the tournament.
Got to get it prettier on the morning here to get me wrong on that.
But they did split with North Star as well.
I think I said that. We rewrite the program here real quick and see if
let's
I got
let's
that.
rewind
Yeah,
it. Let's try it out.
See how that went. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that senior high, the way they play, and even look at Kearney High and the schedule that they've had, some of the games they've won and lost. So Grand Island and Kearney are competing with the elite teams at times.
Yeah.
But on a given night, they could lose to anybody too.
I think the big thing with a team like Grand Island, they weren't going into this season, going to be barn burners, obviously, but they've improved from the very get-go. I mean, every single game you look at their schedule and you look at the scores that they've gotten better. And they should have beat that Creighton Prep team. They had them in overtime, and that's just a big one right there. And they've got some confidence ones coming up. They've got Columbus coming up. They're going to there. They do have to go to Omaha North as well. Both those 2 games are back-to-back. So that's going to be a tough one. But then you've got North Platte coming up too. So you're going to have some competition coming up, but there's also some possibilities of some wins in there too.
Oh, they're going to be favored in some games, and they're at home, and their schedule's getting a little bit better. As far as some home games, that they'll be favored. They'll be favored against North Platte, and they're playing fairly well. They're doing a fairly good job on defense, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that Class A, there's some parity in there with those Class A schools. I think Omaha South must be playing pretty good still. But all those teams though, any night you could get beat. There's just not that one team that's taking charge. If there's anybody that's doing that, it's Aurora in Class B.
Yeah. They might be a little bit of the cut above.
I was going to say, you talked about Omaha South. Them and Omaha North are both 7-0 right now. So I think those are probably the only 2 teams in Class A undefeated going into this week as well. But yeah, Aurora, top-notch team. I think that's, like you said, probably been the most dominant team throughout the beginning of the season through the holiday tournaments.
Sure. And look at Hastings St. Cecilia. Look at the people that they played in their holiday tournament. They beat York.
Yeah.
Who beat Gretna.
Yep.
And York is kind of their schedule's been extremely tough too. York has played a really tough schedule. And so is St. Cecilia, because they've lost to Scotus, they've lost to Newman, and they lost in that holiday tournament. But they've kind of dominated some of the teams they've played, and they've had a pretty good schedule. Some of those teams are winning some games. And Adams Central in Hastings is continuing to win. They're like 10th in the wild card points. It'll be very interesting to see how they do when Adams Central starts. Because they did lose to Roar pretty handily early in the year. But it'll be interesting to see what Adams Central does in that Central 10 tournament, because they're no longer in the Loup Platte.
That will be interesting. That is a team I can't figure out. What shocked me last night, if you drop down to Class C2, we're not there yet, but Elmwood Murdoch, I really like that team. They were in the finals last year, and all of a sudden they get trounced last night by Lincoln Lutheran, who can jump up and bite you. Former Grand Island Northwest kid coaching that team. Glines.
Yeah.
And I just, you never know.
Anybody in that conference is so good. You know, when that group of GICC's in that group, St. Cecilia's in that group, Newman, Scotus. I mean, that is a tough league. You know, Newman is ungodly good. Scotus is still undefeated, I believe. They're one of the few. Gothenburg High School is really good this year.
They are.
I'm telling you, they beat Centura by 40. Centura turns around and beats Doniphan Trumbull. And Centura's a 500 team.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, the Centura played with Gothenburg a little bit. They were going up and down the floor with them, but the only thing, the difference was Centura's shots weren't falling, and Gothenburg's were. And when that happens, it can get, 20 points really quick, and especially when Centura cannot control the boards with Gothenburg. A team that can control the boards can stay in the game.
Yep.
But if you can't control the boards, you've got to make your first shot. And they were limited to kind of 1 or 2 shots.
So they've got that 6'7" kid underneath.
I thought the Oman kid looked good.
Good.
He looked really good as a guard. He handled things well. He's a year older. He sees the floor. He's got a nice stroke. But as far as, as a sophomore going to go up there against seniors and rebounding, you're just giving up a lot.
Yeah, and it seems like they've got a couple guys that they'll put down there, but I watched them against Adams Central. They got in foul trouble, and then they just lost everything down low. So it's tough for them to be physical down low, being so thin with height and things like that.
Yeah, they don't have as much depth as some other schools. You're right.
It's good to see that Dave Oman's boy with that court sense, because I think Dave thinks he's a great ball handler.
Sure.
And I think he is. That's great to see. I don't know how long that man waited for that kid to be eligible to play high school basketball. Good for them.
But they've got some nice role players at Centura too. They got some other kids, and I think if that team's unselfish, they can win some games. I think they need to be. I think they need to go to their shooters a little bit, and there's some guys that are going to be a good guy setting screens, getting some rebounds, keep the ball alive, and they make a shot when you're open, but your role play is to look for somebody else to shoot that first shot if you can. Yeah,
and Centura, their upcoming schedule, they got Cozad and Gibbon, and then they've got St. Paul at home too, which would be
all winnable games.
Yep.
Cozad's
going to be a tough
but all losable games too.
Cozad's
You
going to
bet.
be a very tough one.
Well, so we go to, there's nobody in Class A rated from around this area.
Kearney High had a nice win, though, the other day. They had a good double overtime win. And I think Kearney High's a team that is a little, they've got some offensive weapons, especially with Koster. I think the Koster kid is good enough that he could play Division I someplace.
I think you're right.
And if you have a weapon like that, and then you have some supporting cast guys that are also knocking down some shots. I know that the Techmar kid is knocked down some shots, but they've got some other kids that can play and do their roles, and they're scoring a little bit, and more guys that score, because scoring makes up for a lot of other weaknesses in a basketball game,
Well, and you want to talk about a tough holiday tournament that those guys had going up to Norfolk. They had to play, they played McCook, and they beat them, and then they beat undefeated Scotts Bluff at that time, and then they did lose to Norfolk. That's a tough test right there in a holiday tournament with those 3 teams.
What's really interesting about that holiday tournament that I see is the high level is really, really good, but the bottom end isn't playing very well right now. It is such a disparity of teams. When you play, these teams are playing for 7th and 8th, there's no way those 2 could go in there and win that. Unlike the York Holiday tournament where any of the 4 teams could have won the tournament, and somebody was going to be 0-2, which happened to be, I believe, York.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so, I mean, that's right. So, but some of those holiday tournaments can be that way, so.
Well, it's good to line them up. But, the GNAC is so, it's so distant from top to bottom, they can't even play football.
Right.
You know, they can't. There's no way they could
Go
compete.
Scottsbluff to Norfolk, and
Yeah, I
the
mean-
distance not only in the level of talent,
Yeah,
but then distance
it's-
altogether too.
Well, and you've got Columbus and Hastings that are right in the middle there, but you've got Lexington and McCook.
yeah.
You know, that are, and Scottsbluff could compete with just like McCook. And,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
and they're gonna Scottsbluff could win that thing at times. You know, but Norfolk, if you've ever been up there, it's a tremendous home court advantage. Maybe one of the biggest in the states.
The night I was up there, it looked like it was impossible to win for a visitor.
Yeah, right.
They get them cranked up, kind of like the old barn in Kearney. But C1, well, Adams Central and Kearney Catholic. And what about Kearney Catholic, guys? I like that basketball team. I don't know this head coach there, but I think Donnie Lease is involved, and I wouldn't want to play Kearney Catholic, and they handle Central Catholic pretty well. That's a scary basketball team.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to go over.
Bob
some-
Langen is the guy's name, and he was assisted, Scott Carlin. And Scott Carlin and Bob Langen still talk, just so you know. You know what I mean? So just because some things happen to you bad in a situation where you lose your job doesn't mean you still don't have a connection with some of your players.
no.
You know what I mean? Look at Bo Pelini and some of the Nebraska players. We can go on a lot of things. But so with whatever the success is, everybody should be happy with what happens with Kearney Catholic, because that's a tough thing to do. It's with the players too, is to lose your coach. And and let's be honest about it. Some guys are glad, because their playing time is going to change a little bit.
It is.
You know what I mean? And other people are going to be disappointed because their playing time is going to go the other way. You know what I mean? So you only got, in a game, you only got 32 minutes, and you got 5 guys that are only going to be out on the floor in those 32 minutes. So, however you decide to do it, and they haven't changed it much, to be honest with you.
Well,
Yeah.
and you look at the very beginning of this season when they have a new coach in there, they go 0-2 to start out. They lose to a tough Beatrice team, but then they lose to Holders, so they're 0-2. To keep those kids corralled and focused and get them to buy in to where they are at now, and they've only lost 1 game since then, and that was to Boone Central. Give them credit. For
Yeah,
that.
but let's remember this too. They were 0-3 last year. They came here and got last in the GICC tournament.
Yeah.
And they started out 0-3, and they turned it around too, and that was Scott Carl.
Yeah.
I mean, when you go to Beatrice and you play a high school basketball game, I don't care who you are, it's not like you're going to Gibbon. You know what I mean? And I'm not taking anything from Gibbon. You know what I
Nice
mean? But
facility,
you're only
yes.
going 13 miles. You're getting in the car. You're playing a team that is C1, C2 compared to Beatrice, who's been winning state championships. It's just going to be a tremendous upset. It's like Gretna. Trying to play Gretna, and
Right.
you're a C1 school.
Yep.
Trying to play a Gretna, and it's going to be tough to get that. Yeah, get that win.
Or Central Catholic in York last year.
Yeah,
It's just-
exactly. Yeah, there's some times where that happens. Yeah.
That you made an allusion to players and playing time. Zach Mayhew behind the camera here. When you were at Wood River, you had a coach step down. You were licking your chops at the next one running in, because I know what kind of offense he's going to run. I'm right under the basket. I'm going to get the ball, and then who comes in? Kevin Asher, and they go to a running game. And of course, Zach is not a state class sprinter, so they changed everything, and all of a sudden the game's not what he expected.
Well, Zach's got to somebody's got to rebound. You know what I mean?
Well,
One thing
that's
about Zach's
right.
going to rebound. I
And
think
nobody's
Zach's going to rebound.
Not against, yeah, so that things change, and if they can keep up the excellence they had, like you said, that's a great thing, and they have. So they're going to be.
Is anybody else in C1 that you see on that list that's in our area? Adams Central, that we talked about them a little bit, and they've got a shooter. And you know who that is. They've got
Everybody,
one,
yeah.
and he can shoot the ball. I mean, and I'll tell you what, he's dangerous enough. If he's hot, he's going to keep you in the game, because he can knock down 3, another 3, another 3, and he'll score 11 points in maybe 3 minutes.
I know.
And it really, and that's, if you look in high school basketball, that's an art that we've lost a little bit sometimes. The defense has taken over a little bit. So anybody that can shoot the ball, he'd be able to score like that, because a lot of teams are getting stuff in transition. They're getting transition layups. They're getting things off steals. They're not really getting things in their set offense.
No.
Yeah.
What have you seen him play for Adams Central bowling?
Yeah, I saw him play against Centura that one time.
Okay, this kid does not look like he's going to be very tough or scrap. He does, and he'll scrap, and he'll get right in and mix it up with everybody. He's a lot better player overall than I thought. So, and
He's not going to be the guy that sits down on the baseline and waits for the ball.
No.
He's definitely going to go in
Yep.
and play the tough spots too.
Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, like you said, I'm going to be real careful, because you said he doesn't look like a player. He looks like a basketball player to me.
Not a football.
Yeah,
Tough
but
guy.
But if I was going to pick up sides, And I watched him warm up. I mean, after about 1 minute, I'm going, he's going to be on my team.
Oh, yeah. That's for...
I'm going to take that.
Yeah.
I'm taking that guy. I'm going to write him down up high on the list.
If you want to see him shooting,
right.
that's for dog.
That's right.
Sure.
Within 45 seconds, the kid can easily have 12 points.
God.
Yeah,
14
and
points,
the thing of it is, the role he's in, though, there's going to be some times where fans and people are going to look at that, because he is going to also go 0 for 5, 0 for 6.
Yeah.
There's going to be a stretch, because he's not inside laying in 2-footers. He's taking some shots that are tough to make, and because of that, he is going to have some stretches where he's going to be 0 for 6, and people are going to be a pass off. They don't know how. This game's tough to play.
The good news is with that team, even though he's a high scorer, they've got a good balance. They facilitate the ball around pretty well to where when he's in those stretches, they'll still be putting points on the board and staying in games.
Right, and you got to remember too, in the Loup Platte they could play one way, in the Central 10 they might have to play another.
That tournament's going to be interesting. I can't wait for
Yeah.
that. Now, in Class C2, of course, St. Cecilia's up there, but right behind them is Amherst. Those two teams are in the same sub-district.
Right.
I think. We'll have to look in just a minute.
Yeah, you better check that out.
I'm telling you
they're
what.
not in the same sub-district, because I think
They will play each other if they win, is that it?
I don't know. You
Yeah.
might have to look that up, but I know they're not in the same sub-district for sure. But they could be. Maybe Centura's involved in here a little bit with. I think Centura is the team that goes the direction to play Amherst, if I'm not mistaken.
You might be right.
So I'm thinking that's not correct, but it's. I'm not 100% either. I didn't really look at it that hard. But we were talking about St. Cecilia. I'll tell you what they've done is they had a couple teams in the last 7-8 years that have won some state championships, and they were some really good football athletes, basketball athletes. They were winning and everything. Right now, Kevin Asher has kind of brought this program around where he's winning with some kids. And we all thought they were going to be maybe 3 deep. But if you watch them play, they're like 5, 6, and then now they're getting 7 and 8 deep. They're really playing well. And Amherst lost to Kearney Catholic. Amherst got beat by Kearney Catholic. Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see, because Amherst last year was playing at a little higher level than they are right now, about dominating. Yeah. And St. Cecilia is probably playing just below a level that they were last year when they were in the state. But it's not. They're closer I think than maybe Amherst is playing at the level they are right now. Yeah.
Amherst, I can see being 17-1 going into that final week of January into the conference tournament. But then they'll have, starting January 26th, they'll have SEM.
Sure, and they're undefeated right now.
Yep, they're undefeated.
No losses, man.
And then they'll also have the Fort Kearney tournament coming up. And then they have Elm Creek and then Wilcox-Hildreth to end out the season.
Yeah, good
You
point.
want to talk about a loaded back into the schedule.
I thought Elm Creek was really going to be good, and I still think they are. But Elm Creek did lose to SEM, and they did lose to Wilcox-Hildreth. Did you guys know that?
I didn't know they lost to Willie.
Yeah, they got beat by Wilcox-Hildreth. And so those two, like you said, on a given night they could. And I'll tell you the other team that's really a surprise to me is Overton. Overton is like 7-3, and they played Amherst a 5-point game. Wow. So so that Fort Kearney Conference is going to be interesting. If anybody's saying taking charge right now, it's SEM. Because they beat that South Loop group, that Sargent group, not South Loop, Twin Loop.
Yeah.
Beat Sargent and then they also beat Elm Creek by about 15. So those were really impressive scores. And not that they won, but the way they did it. This did come down to the last minute of the game.
I bet they can rebound like a son of a gun.
Yeah, that line kid is one of the better players around. He's a really good scorer, too.
He's a surefire all-stater in my book. But anyway, there's in D1, we don't have anybody rated in our area. D2, of course, it's the same old with Riverside and Joey Imus up there.
They play that Twin Loop tomorrow night, I believe. Riverside plays there, and that'll be a big Thursday night game. Right?
Boy, can they move the ball! Oh my goodness! And that freshman, that Prasasi will shoot from anywhere, kind of like bowling. So, it's the sub-district thing. I'm going to check it out just a little bit. St. Cecilia is in sub-district 9.
So they'll play 10.
And they'll play 10. And Amherst is in there with Centura, Arcadia Loop City, who I don't think has lost but 1 game, and Ravenna and Wood River.
Okay, so that's 10?
Yeah, there's
10.
ten.
So you're right. So 9 will play 10. Yep, so you are right. And you are right. The St. Cecilia's group does go that way. I didn't know that. And where's Amherst at? Is Amherst in that group?
Amherst is in
Yeah,
this.
because I knew
They're
Amherst
with
and Centura in the same sub-district, right?
Yep.
And then the winner plays St. Cecilia probably on that other
Or
backside.
Donovan Trumbull will be
Yeah,
in that
right.
too.
You bet.
So and
Yeah, that's true. Donovan Trumbull on a given night could beat anybody. They're that type of team too.
they were not, I think Stoop demoted them to 10th, but their losses to GICC, and of course that's not enough to knock
Then they
you
got
out.
beat by St. Cecilia too pretty good early in the year,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That boy St. Cecilia seems to own that team in basketball. But anyway, Jimmy, are you officiating, or do you know yet at any of these conference tournaments?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I'm
Man.
working in the.
Are you in the Fort Kearney? I hope.
Yeah, I'm working the
Wow.
final. I'm working the finals of the Fort Kearney.
Woohoo.
I'm working semifinals of that. I'm working some Central 10. In fact, Monday I'm going to the SPVA, and that's North
What a-
Pat, St. Pat's Hershey and that group. That's Monday, and then I also work there Saturday. So that's the first tournament, and then the following Monday, I believe I start the Central 10.
Boy, that is.
Going there on Monday, and I'm working that, some games in that Central 10 Saturday too. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun on the finals. And I don't know what date games I have yet. I could have third place games
Yeah.
or fifth place games or whatever. I'm not for sure what I have on that yet. And then I'll be working some semifinals in the Lou Platte and then the finals in that Lou Platte. So yeah, as long as I stay healthy.
Well, you'll stay healthy.
You'll see.
Boy, that's a great honor to work those tournaments.
Thank you very much.
I mean, it really is. So here's what's happening. The 23rd, there's a lot of big tournaments to start the 23rd. The Capital Conference, of course, that's Wahoo in that bunch. Centennial Conference, the Central Tennessee's talking about. Eastern Midland Conference, Blair and that bunch, and East Husker. And for some reason, I don't have the River. River Cities is, that's the 17th. Okay.
Yeah, that was early, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's early, along with the Goldenrod
Right.
and the smaller ones. So, and Fort Kearney is the 28th through the 4th. There's a bunch of them that. So and I don't know if that seems to separate some teams sometimes, and sometimes it means nothing. I wonder, like in the Fort Kearney, how many teams have come out of that conference a champion and gone on to do well at state. It's hard to.
Yeah,
they usually do, don't they?
Yeah, in D2 they did. No, Amherst last year she was C2.
Yeah.
And they probably, and I mean, when you say this, I don't want to offend anybody, but they would have won D1.
They would have.
Yeah, I mean, they got beat
sure.
by 1 point in overtime to, what was it, St. Cecilia?
Yeah.
They got beat by 1 point to Winnebago, but they probably would have won D1. And say that's not fair to the D1
No,
champion.
but-
I'll just automatically hand it to them. But their enrollment just got up a little bit. Where we got up there, and hey, I'm not so sure St. Cecilia was going to win C1.
No.
You know what I mean? When you look at that, sometimes you catch a break on where it just
know.
happened to hit. You're going, hey, we're state champions. Boy, lucky we were in this class instead of that one. Because you make a move like that. Where Aurora, in the Grand Island Northwest girls in Class B volleyball, they did better up being an A.
They would
You
have,
know, so,
Right, yeah.
this
so,
year.
yeah.
Yep.
But then you also, like this year, the recipient of we have a good class in boys basketball is Lutheran High Northeast. They dropped down to D1.
Oh, is that
And
right?
I mean, that's a good basketball team, very good. So, Jim, I wanted to ask you, both you and Eric, about this, well, I like the site, nobody knows who this guy is. This Any Prep Scores did a little thing, and he rates all the wild card points that teams have in every class, their win-loss record, Division I opponents played and their opponents' winning percentage. How much does that weigh on what really the picture is? Do you think opponents' winning percentage is a big deal? I think it probably is, but when you talk about Division I opponents, it doesn't matter what class that's in.
Yeah, well, I guess what they're trying to tell you is that in basketball, you better look at who you're beating because.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, I mean, Sumner Eddyville Miller is D2. That's the smallest class, and Riverside is also in D2. That's the smallest class. Well, it's going to be really hard for somebody like that to go undefeated because they can't go any lower.
No.
They don't go to play some lower schools. Where if you're a C2 school and you're playing some D2 and D1s. You're going to have a better chance of running the table and getting a lot of wins. But I'll be honest with you, I would be amazed if St. Cecilia, and as good as they are, would only lose 2 more games.
Possible.
You know, I mean, but they got to play Wahoo Newman and SCOTUS in that tournament. That's going to be, I mean, and they could catch one of them in the semis, and they could, if they upset one of them, they're going to play the other one. I mean, so they probably could lose another 2 games just in that tournament alone. And you know, their schedule's tough enough, you know, where they had a chance to lose 3 or 4 games or 5 games and will still be the favorite to win the state championship. And by wild card points, might be the #1 seed even.
Yeah.
You know, where somebody that's undefeated, you know, they might not be playing up enough. They're not playing enough winners.
No.
And because if you look at the wild card, there's some teams that are undefeated and they're still like 7th or 8th.
Yeah, I know.
In the wild card, they're undefeated because they just aren't beating anybody. And they're sure not playing Wahoo, Newman, and SCOTUS.
No.
Yeah, you know, so.
That's called battle.
Well, and see, that's York, and that's why I say Aurora. That's what I like about Aurora. I'm going to say something great about Aurora right now. Is they are battle tested. They have played a tremendous schedule. They have beaten really good teams, and they're still undefeated.
Yeah.
Now, that's a schedule there that I'm saying, hey, you're undefeated, and you're in Class B, and you're playing those type of people. You are battle-tested. And if Gretna would have been undefeated, I'd say the same thing about Gretna.
Yeah.
If York would be undefeated, I'd say the same thing. They are not dodging people. They're trying to play a really good schedule. And I'll say that about, you know, GICC. That's what they try to do. They try to play a pretty tough schedule.
Yeah.
They play some people and have a good schedule. Very seldom do they have a game you're going, oh, they'll probably win that. They'll probably win this. I mean, they'll get a couple like that, but yeah.
Well,
Right.
you look at some of those smaller classes too. If you get some of those teams playing stiffer competition and moving up and playing, and yeah, they may be going into the district with a 500 record, but they're going to be ready for that district better than some of their opponents who are playing those smaller schools and just playing that area too. So it just, you know, you may be 500 going into it, but you probably have a better chance than the team that's undefeated of winning that district.
Totally agree. And, you know, there was no more dominance this year probably than any sport that I saw than Riverside in 6-man football. I mean, it was total domination. No one dominated like that. If you look at Burwell, and, you know, they were state champions, but how many games they had where they had to fight tooth and nail to get out of there.
Twice against Palmer.
Yeah, and you know, I think, you know, Blue Hill was in involvement with the year before in a really tight game that could have gone either way. And sometimes you have an injury, too, that hurts you just right at the end. You go, whoa, you know, we're playing without this guy, and we can't win probably without this. And that's happened to a lot of teams where they lose a guy where he gets hurt, he hurts a knee, or he breaks a collarbone, or he does some things where he's not able to play in these small towns, and it just affects you. Riverside had a huge injury and still just walked through the thing.
I was going to
You know,
say,
so, yeah.
they probably had the
Total.
athlete of the year, and it still hurt and still made it.
Yeah, total domination. I've never seen anything quite like it in all the years that I've officiated. And in 8, I mean, when I'm in 6-man, you could have a game that's 50-28, but it's still not total domination.
No.
But they totally dominated. It was, yeah.
And that's not this is the second year they've done that.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they've lost more than 2 games since they've dropped the 6-man or the school's been.
Right, exactly.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. But I was just bringing that up. I'm talking about Aurora, and the hats off to them because they are winning, and they're winning. They haven't, you know, they beat a good Hastings team.
Yeah.
Hastings is tough. Hastings can compete, and they beat them by 20, didn't they?
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
They'll stay with you
Yeah.
at the beginning, I'll tell you that.
Have you refed an Aurora game yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. I was just going to wonder what type of rotation they got. Are they playing, you know, just 6 guys, 7 guys, or what they were doing exactly? Because like you said, most of their wins have been pretty sound too. I mean, it's not, you know, at the buzzer wins type of thing where they're separating themselves in some of these games. I just didn't know how much of a depth they had on that bench right now.
I'm sure they got plenty.
play.
I'm sure they got plenty of depth, and if they don't, they're going to get some because they're winning. They're winning. They're going to get some depth right now. And not only that, you practice against those guys every day.
Well, that's. I
You
was
know,
going to go back to.
you might get a little bit better, go to that JV game, go, hey, you know what? That guy's not blocking my shot like he was in practice all week.
You were
know
talking-
what I mean? Yeah. So.
You were talking about St. Cecilia, and I was going to bring that same point up with those kids that are playing now. You know, they were going against those big names that St. Cecilia had in the past, and they were just getting better. That as a young freshman going up against the varsity.
Their
guard and
JV
things
team.
like
I think that Coach Asher told me their JV team was like 50-2 in like the last 52 games.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Rob beat
yeah,
my
yeah,
sons
right.
when GICC beat that team, and they had won more. They were the win total was more than 50-2 at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
They
right.
never lose.
Yeah, right. And so it's kind of interesting, like you say. So.
And Aurora's, Bob, the JVs are, by the way, really strong. So there's your answer to that. Glaring programs that are not afraid to play anybody at a lower level. Humphrey St. Francis, they'll go play Norfolk Catholic and Aquinas, Lutheran High Northeast, and Parkview Christian. They're not afraid to play anymore.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Good
So
point.
those, but hats off to Aurora because they can only go up. They have no reason to go down, and they are playing Omaha South at the Heartland Hoops Classic. It'd be crazy to miss that.
They're the only loss on Pius's record right now too.
I didn't realize that until you had said something. So, yeah, my early favorites are Aurora. I don't know about you guys in Class B. So, well, this is get out and see a tournament game because it's coming right up. The 23rd isn't that far off, and they're all over the place. You might even get to see Jimmy Langen. And I'm going to ask Jimmy a question here. We went over this before, but I didn't realize, this is an official's question, that we had an instance at GICC the other night where someone dunked in warm-ups. They were caught. And I didn't realize that you not only are assessed a technical foul, of course goes as a team foul, that your coach had to stay on the bench the entire game. I didn't realize. I've never seen it happen.
Well, what happens is the coach is given indirect technicals and direct technicals.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You get to if you have a direct technical foul, then that you lose the coach's box. You don't have a right to stand. And there's some indirect technicals. An indirect technical would be like a bookkeeping error. You know, like where you put in the starting line, it's wrong. You know, or maybe something to do with something that was not malicious, or that wasn't the intent wasn't malicious. It was just something like I'll give you an example of something like that. You know what I mean?
An indirect technical, you do not have to sit.
Then you do not have to sit. In fact, you actually get another indirect technical. You two direct technicals and you're gone. You know, I mean, you have to leave. And it's kind of an interesting thing. But yeah, there's some things. And normally, if you've refereed as much as I do, I try to get the other coach involved and go, hey, he put down 21 here, but hey, you know what? Let's look at this. I mean, the last night he was 21. Today he's 20, and you knew it. Hey, So we try to catch those things before that 10-minute mark, because at the 10-minute mark you can change all that stuff. Okay, so now let's say you got a game, and this kid is a JV kid, and he forgot to put him in the book. He was hurt the night before, or he was sick. Well, now this kid, he doesn't get to play. You go down, and especially if the score's 60-40.
Yeah.
You want to shoot 2 free throws, or you want to let this kid play. And usually the coach will go, hey, we're letting him in. We don't need this. And other coaches are good too. You can be out of timeouts.
They are good. Yeah.
Let's say you've lost all your timeouts, and you wanted to sub in. You're waving the flag, and we've got the clocks running and climbing. Hey, I'd like to call timeout right now to get these subs in. Well, the other coach will call timeout for you.
I know.
Hey, let's just get him in there and let's move on. So coaches usually are very good. I know it's very competitive, and the fans see these guys 32 minutes going after each other. But in the bottom line, most coaches and most referees do get along pretty well.
Oh, I know they do.
Yeah. And really, we get along pretty good with most fans, but maybe not during districts. Sportsmanship goes out the window a little bit then.
Glaring example is when Central Catholic's boys played Northwest. Chip says, Tino, I'm out of timeouts. Could you call a timeout so I could get these kids in? Sure.
Yeah.
That's a great thing.
Chip Ball, he'll call 5 timeouts. And maybe the first half. Yeah.
He came close the one time I went.
He called them all the day.
He called 4.
Yeah. One thing about you, just look over at Chip because he might be wanting a timeout.
That's
He's fun. Chip's good for high school basketball.
Yeah, he is very entertaining. So and Northwest is starting to pick it up a little bit. So anyway, that wrap on boys basketball. We'll be back in just a little bit to talk girls basketball. Won't be as long because the only guy that knows about girls basketball is Jimmy Langen, I'm sure. But no, we all know a little bit about it. So for Jim Langen, over here, Eric Williams, behind the camera, Zach Nee, way back there, Aaron Martinez. This is Bobby Mills saying we'll talk about girls basketball in just a moment on the Bobby Mills Independent Sports Talk Show.